Lisa Tarr, CEO and founder of First Steps Pediatric Therapy, and I am here today to talk to you a little bit about behaviors of sensory avoider in anxious children. A child that avoids sensory experiences basically are the ones that refuse to go to, a crowded, busy park. They are the ones that do not like to shop at, for example, a big warehouse like Costco or Sam's Club. They do not like their fingers dirty. They won't touch certain foods. So those are the kids that are the sensory avoiders. They also are the ones that have hyper reactions when children, like for example, if they get bumped or hugged or there's a loud noise that's unpredictable, they get scared. Think about like when your dogs bark all of a sudden, kind of startles you as just a general person, but these kids, when they hear a noise that's unpredictable, like a vacuum starting or a blender starting, like that can actually trigger like a stress response. So those are the ones that are sensory avoiders. So just going in real quick on some tips would be like when you are starting a loud noise or it is predictable. Animals are a little difficult, but like a blender or, for example, a vacuum, you just make an announcement and kind of let them know, okay, or you show them visually that this is the vacuum, it's going to be making noise, or the blender, or, you make sure that the child who's a sensory avoider is either separate in a different room before you do that, or you let them know what is producing the sound. The sensory avoiders, when it interferes with your daily activities, are ones that basically refuse to get dressed. You have to buy special clothing, for example. They only will wear like 2 or 3 different kinds of clothing just because nothing else feels comfortable. They're kids that generally hate jeans and they either like things really tight or they like things very loose, or it might be a fabric issue, but you're just limited on the physical wardrobe. Other sensory avoiders, they are going to have difficulty with normal daily routines like toothbrushing, nail trimming, hair washing, all of those pieces. So that's going to cause a sensory discomfort and they're going to avoid a lot of those things. And then also they're not going to be the kids that are moving on the playgrounds. They are going to be ones that do not like working with other kids because they're moving and running and they're very unpredictable. The other thing is that when you do have a sensory avoider, one of the things is that they have very intense reactions to this, like the stimulus. So they're the ones that run away when you turn on the blender, or they will not touch a food that they like if you have to use your fingers. Just little things like that they have very intense reactions. They're the ones that cover their ears, for example, when there's a music there, or they push you away if you touch them a different way. They also are the kids that can become physically aggressive and then they can hit and push and try to run away, and they're at a flight risk. So the other thing is that our sensory avoiders actually get to a point where behaviorally, they just have an overall emotion that becomes overwhelming, and then they become dysregulated and they almost go in the fight, flight, freeze, fawn phase. And so you can't get them back out of those areas. So that's really when you start realizing that your child does have a sensory challenge. And so that's when you can actually contact us to help support you. Some other sensory challenges could be ones specifically when you have difficulty with sleeping, and then you might have difficulty with challenging like foods or diets. They're not able to get the adequate nutrition, they're constipated, or they're dehydrated, any of those types of things, because their dietary intake is limited, it becomes a problem. The times that when you have a child and you as a parent cannot regulate them in a busy, noisy environment, because to be honest, it's really hard as a young parent to be able to get everything that you need to get done and not take your children to the grocery store, for example, or a restaurant on occasion that's a little bit busier. So the other thing is that children who have the anxious or sensory avoidance, they have difficulty with regulation skills. So everybody has difficulty and everybody gets stressed at different times. It's just their level of stress is a point where we actually can they have difficulty regulating themselves, and then they become upset for a long period of time. Sometimes we're going to see physical symptoms like a tummy ache or a headache, or sometimes they might get so upset that they vomit and they're technically not sick. So those are the things that we, even as adults, like somebody might have a panic attack. It's pretty much those kiddos who are sensory avoidant or anxious kids. They go all the way to this extreme level. And then it's really difficult and it's exhausting as parents. And so this is when you get to reach out to a professional for help. Occupational therapists can definitely help with your children that have the sensory avoiders, and they can help you identify certain things to introduce some of these sensory structures, adapt your home routine, and then really help with you and your family individually to support those pieces. You can contact us at 720-900-7432, or you can check us out at firststepspediatric.com.